Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Swarna Ma'am's Biology. In this video, I will be explaining you about the living world. So let us start. So coming to this lesson that is about the living world. Here in this lesson, we will be discussing about the living organisms, diversity of living organisms, and various types of the living organisms present in the world. So when we see in the world, day-to-day life, we will be seeing different types of the living organisms, that is the organisms which has the life. So the main learning objectives which we will be discussing are the living organisms, the diversity, and the taxonomic categories as well as taxonomical aids. So coming to our topic, that is living organisms and diversity. So as we have discussed, we will be seeing different types of the organisms. So different types of the animals, different types of the plants. So which we will be seeing in our day-to-day life. So what are the characteristics of a living organism? So when we see the characteristics of living organisms, first, the first character which we will be seeing in the living organism is the growth. So when we see the growth, it may be the increase in the size or increase in the mass. So whenever means it is one of the main characters of the living organism. And the second most important thing is about reproduction. So it is also one of the important character which we say it is increase in the progeny of the same organism. So it is reproduction. Then the third character is metabolism. And there is the another character which is called as cellular organization and consciousness. So these are the main five characters which we will be saying. These are the main things which in living organisms will be having. So first, if we see the growth, we know all the organisms there will be increase in the size. But when we see only growth as the main character of the organism, we can see the growth that is increase in the mass or as well as increase in the size, both living as well as in the non-living. For example, if we see a wood, so which we keep in the under the water or in the rain, we will be seeing increase in the size. Yes, there is increase in the mass of the wood. Is it a living organism? No. So we can say that growth is not completely characteristic. Means it is only not the one characteristic of the living organism. So suppose when we see the reproduction, so even it means it is increase in the progeny means all the living organisms will reproduce, but it is not 100%. There are some infertile organisms which are living, which will not show increase in the progeny. So reproduction is also one of the character, but it is not the main character. Means it is not very important character of the organism. Means to distinguish it is a living organism. Then cellular organization. When we see cellular organization, means the cells are organized. Means cells will be forming tissues, tissues will be forming organs will be forming organism, and so likewise. So which is called as cellular organization. It is also said to be one of the characters of the organism. Then metabolism. So it is also one of the important character of the organism, which we will be explaining in the coming slides. And the last one is consciousness. So all these are said to be important characters to say that the organism is having life. So now, so when we see first growth, as we have seen, it is present in all the living organisms. It is true, but it is shown as we have seen when we keep the wood outside, it also increases the size. So growth is not the completely defining future to say that the organism is living. That is growth, that is increase in the mass. Yes, definitely we see in the organism that is man. Okay. But it is also seen in the non-living organism. So it is not completely defining feature. Yes. When we see this growth, it is unlimited in the case of the plants, whereas limited in the case of the animals. Yes. But Up to which stage? Only up to a certain stage. So growth, when we see, it is intrinsic, maybe inside the body. Extrinsic, we see the growth in the non-living things also, where we will be seeing increase in the size of the mountains when the snow piles up. So it is also there is increase in the size of the structure. Yes, but it is not the real growth. Yes, it is not the defining character to say that the organism is having life. So the next thing which we have discussed is reproduction, that is production of progeny. So when we see the reproduction, there are two types of the reproduction which we will be seeing. One is sexual reproduction and the other one is asexual reproduction. Okay. We know the unicellular organisms will be mainly showing what is called as asexual reproduction. Okay. But it is also not completely defining feature for the organism to say it is living. For example, mule, if you say, or worker bee, and infertile human beings, all these are sterile organisms. Means they can't produce their progeny. But aren't they having life? They are having life. So we can say that reproduction is also not completely defining character of a living organism. Then the third one is metabolism. What is metabolism? It is a sum total of all the chemical reactions that occur in the organisms. Means it is what we can say, it is a sum of catabolism as well as anabolism. Okay, so all the living organisms will show what is called as metabolism, which is absent in the non-living objects. So metabolism is one of the defining character of a living organism. Okay, and the another one is consciousness, means the ability to respond to stimuli. It is also one of the main defining character of a living organism. We have more consciousness. Yes, we will be responding to different types of the stimuli. Yes, humans are self-conscious. All the organisms, living organisms are conscious. They are absent, means the consciousness is not seen in the case of the non-living objects. Okay. So, cellular organization. So, what is organization? It is the means the cells will be organized to form what is called as tissue. All the tissues of the same function will organize to form organ, and different organs will form organ system, and different organ systems will be forming one organism. Okay, which is absent in the non-living organism. So cellular organization is also one of the defining character to say that organism is living, is having life. We will see what are the characters which are present in the living organism and which is not present in the non-living organism. When we see the growth, it is present in the living organisms. We can see the growth is present as well as in the non-living organisms also. Okay. When we see reproduction, it is present in the living organisms but with some exceptions. But it is absent in the non-living organism. When we see metabolism, it is present only in the living organism, which is not present in the non-living organism. And when we see cellular organization, it is present only in the living organism. It is absent in the non-living organism. Okay. And consciousness, it is present only in the living organism. We will not see consciousness in the non-living organisms. Yes. So this is about the living organisms. How can we define a living organism? Mainly they will be having means with complete exemptional structure, exemptional characters of the living organism is they are having metabolism, cellular organization, consciousness, in addition to the growth and reproduction, okay, which is not seen in the case of non-living organisms. So we can say those are the defining characters of a living organism. So which is not, now we will say a small test here, which is not a defining feature of the living organisms. A is consciousness, B is metabolism, C is cellular organization, D is reproduction. Just now we have discussed all these three is consciousness, metabolism, and cellular organization are seen only in the living organisms. We can't see those in the non-living organisms. Reproduction is also seen in the living organisms only, but we can't say it as a defining feature. Why? Because some living organisms are infertile, means they can't reproduce, they can't produce their progeny. So only these three, A, B, C. are correct. So the correct answer is D, that is reproduction. It is not a defining character of the organism. So they have given which is not a defining character. So all these three are defining characters. So the correct answer is D. D is not the defining character to say that it is a living organism. Okay. So now we will see what is meant by diversity of the living world. So, what is meant by diversity? Number of types of the organisms which are present in our surroundings. On the earth, we call it as diversity. We know variants of the species of the plants, animals are present in our surroundings, that is in the world. So, how can we distinguish? Mainly means we can't say that organism which is round, which is big, or which is red in color every time like that. We have to name it. Means we have to standardize the name of those living organisms. So, how can we name? For example, if we see a rose, every time we will not describe that it is red in color, it gives very nice smell like that. We will, whenever we will see the rose, we will pronounce it as rose. Okay, but in means we will pronounce in our own languages. In Hindi, it is gulab, Bangla, it is gulab. Oh yes, even we whenever they will be seeing us, whenever our friends etc will be seeing us, every time they will be not saying our characters, just they will call out our name. Yes, so what that naming is called as nomenclature. Okay, so the naming of the organism is called as nomenclature. Means we can't give a name as we wish. Okay, so each as we have been named by our parents. Likewise, all the organisms surrounding us are named scientifically. Okay, those names which are given scientifically to that organisms, we call it as nomenclature. So that nomenclature is based on certain principles. Okay, so each plant or each animal, each fruit is given certain name based on some principles. Okay, so how who are those structures? What are means those organizations which are naming the plants or animals are ICBN, that is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, that is ICBN, and International Code of Geological Nomenclature. So, according to the International Code of Geological Nomenclature, all the animals are given the names. Okay, and according to the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, all the plants are given the names, which we are calling it as scientific names. Okay. So, how they are named? By two. Means that each organism is given two names, which we are calling it as binomial nomenclature or binomial nomenclature. Okay, that is scientific name consists of two halves. One is the genus name and one is a species name. For example, if it is a mango, okay, mango is given the scientific name as Mangifera indica. Mangifera is the genus name, whereas the species name is indica. Okay, Mangifera is a genus name, whereas the species name is indica. Means each plant or each animal or each fruit, anything is given two names. Each organism is given two names, which we are calling it as genus name and species name, which is called as binomial nomenclature. It was a Carl von Linnaeus who was a scientist who formed the rules for this nomenclature. Okay, where all the names are given as Latin names. For example, Mangifera indica, the first word denotes the genus and the second word denotes species. So biological name when handwritten are separately underlined. Means when we are writing Mangifera indica, both the names have to be underlined. Otherwise, the genus name has to be written starting with a capital letter, whereas the species name always has to be started with a small letter. Otherwise, they are underlined. Okay. Indica. So Mangifera, if you see, it is a capital letter and here it is a small letter. And at last, the author name, that is Linnaeus is the person who named that. Means name of the order is written after the specific epithet and is abbreviated as Lin. Linnaeus is the scientist who named this, that is Mangifera indica. Okay. What is the need for classification? Why we have to classify? So we know there are different types of the animals. There are variety of millions of animals present in the world. So there is necessity to remember all the organisms, to know the characters of the organism every time. how to pronounce those organisms. Every time we can't say that, for example, if it is a cat, now we are pronouncing it is a cat. So if we see that cat, every time we can't say that one animal is there, it is very short and it will be pronouncing meow meow like that. So it is necessary to identify its characters of that animal or a plant or anything and give a particular name to it and study the characters of that. Okay, so this is about the means why to what is the need for classification? We have to classify that organism or classify that plant or animal where it is belonging. For example, all the we belong to a particular that is humans. All the humans belong to a particular means we will be calling all of all these humans as human beings. Likewise, there is a need for classification. We can't remember all those organisms. So there is a necessity for classification. So this is about what is life and what are the characters of the living organisms and about diversity and about binomial nomenclature. And in my next video, I will be coming before you discussing about what is the need of classification, how we have classified different types of organisms. Okay, thank you for now. Hope you like this video. If you like, please like my video, share and subscribe my channel, Swarna Ma'am's Biology. Thank you.